Thanks, Jen. Okay, guys, mic is on. My bad. So I wanted to go ahead and introduce everybody that's on here right now. We got Jen over at Surfside Geckos out in Florida. After that, we've got Derek. He's over at These Gex in Alabama. And then we also have Junior coming on here. He's over in Colorado, basically at the Four Corners. So he'll be coming on today. We've got quite a few topics to go over with you guys. Sit back, relax, enjoy the round table. I'll try to pay attention to the comments. If we don't get to yours, type it again. We'll look for them. I can see them right here on the screen, so hopefully we'll be paying really close attention to that. But without any more delay, I'm going to bring everybody on. All right, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Amazing.
Doing really good. Everybody want to introduce themselves? I can go first. I'm Joe. I obviously am the creator of Wildcard Geckos. I've been breeding for a couple of years now, and had geckos since probably like 2011-ish. I want to say 10 or 11. But yeah, I started off so everybody kind of knows doing everything the wrong way, and then over time, and getting out and back in, taking some time to do some travel, I figured out the right way. So that's what I am. Junior.
Junior's Geckos here. Same story. I mean, started out, fell in love with the leopard geckos. I want to say about 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. First year was pretty much practice run, as I know everybody kind of starts off like that, but we just been really focusing on improving our operations over here. Just trying to get better and better. Definitely not where I want to be, but I mean, we're heading there, you know. And I just hope to continue to grow and get better and meet new people here on there. So,
Awesome. Derek.
These Gex from Alabama. I've been into reptiles since I was a kid. Raised around snakes, rattlesnakes when I was 3. Got in. I was fascinated with lizards. My dad's snakes. Got into leopard geckos when I was 18, back in 2002, and of course learned all the do's and don'ts the hard way. And life happened, so I took a break from that, focused on just work. And a couple of years ago, I decided, I have one kid, no other animals. Researched geckos for about 2 years, the do's and don'ts, and then invested and decided I was going to buy some good animals.
Right on, right on. We've got quite a few people showing up here. Jen, did you want to go?
Sure. As you know, Joe, Jennifer, Surfside Leopard Geckos. So this is my second year breeding. Last year was kind of my trial year, Junior. So my kid actually got me back into leopard gecko, and
Okay.
that's where that started. She wanted one. I had my first when I was a teenager. Worked in an exotic pet store, and that's when I had my first geckos. It's kind of like you. They're kind of grew up with iguanas before they were illegal here in Florida, and different things like that. So yeah, trying to do all the things the right way. But learned some hard lessons my first year, but I think I'm doing pretty good. I like the community, Junior, like meeting other people, and I've met some pretty awesome people that have helped me along the way, including Joe.
Oh, thank you. All right, that's awesome. People kind of have an idea of who's on the screen now. We got, experience all over the place, and the years are what they are, but the passion is shared, so that's kind of cool. Um, I wanted to bring up a topic and then kind of just go at it with you guys, see kind of where your heads are at. Sales.
All right.
We utilize different platforms. I know I use Husbandry Pro, and I have a store there. I have a website, but then also I use more companies. There's that one. I've took a look at another one that Gary Orner is putting out. It's a Repti brand. That's kind of his thing, and looking to work with that as well. But I've noticed on some of them. I'm not going to single one out, but there's some sales verbiage, and I kind of wanted to know if you guys, marketing wise, know what I'm talking about and what you guys think of it, things that you've seen, and what do you think works and what doesn't work.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Um, the word, I got it written down here. The word fancy. Um, somebody tell me in your own, like, what is a fancy leopard gecko? Because I've seen that quite a bit.
That's
You
been
want me
around
to
for
go
a while.
first?
It's been
Oh,
around
sorry,
for a
Derek.
while.
Yeah.
Um, I first started seeing it in pet stores years ago. Probably Pets. I want to say Petco specifically because when I was younger, almost 20 years ago, that's where I would get some geckos sometimes. And PetSmart would actually label and sell Trimper giant albinos and stuff back then. But then over the years, there was no labels of morphs anymore. It was just regular or fancy. And sometimes you might have a fancier looking gecko where the regulars are than where the fancies are. So it's just like whatever they get sold, I guess. I haven't really noticed it on any other selling platforms yet.
Okay. That's interesting. So the word fancy leopard gecko could have just originated from pet stores in that case. Because I
Yeah.
know that I see it on every place, but sorry, go ahead, Jen.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just was commenting on that. That's actually a neat perspective. I do now remember seeing that at a pet store, and I kind of wondered how it ended up on the internet. Could very well be where it came from, Jen.
I was going to say the same thing as Derek. I always saw it in PetSmart. Actually, I worked at PetSmart when I was 15. And I'm old like you, but so it was a while back. But that's how they were labeled, and it was really just a way to mark them higher and profit a little bit more off of them. That's all it was.
Okay, Junior, what do you think about that one, man?
Yeah, I was gonna add the same. I mean, when I first got into going to like Petco and PetSmart wherever, um, you'd always see like normals and then fancies and then designer. I even seen the term designer. Um, but that's just in my opinion. I think what Jen was saying that for the marketing, of course they would put the normals, just your basic morph, pretty much just your normal looking gecko, and then if it had any like color, and mainly when they were labeled fancies, you could really tell that they were a lot of Murphy's patternless stuff,
Lizard.
uh, like Tremper albino stuff, like tangerines, anything that really wasn't your normal leopard gecko in their eyes, I guess you would say. Um, Anything that had color to it, more like a different pattern or something. So yeah, it's interesting that that it's starting to rise on the internet now. Because I've seen them as well in the pet stores and stuff. I mean, even my local pet
Guys,
stores can do it. So
yeah, what do you guys think? Would you put that like on your advertisements, like because we all are basically. I know we're all advertising. I want you to buy my stuff. Also, I can't keep everything, so there's no shame in it. And if you do things with the right passion, I think that sales isn't really a dirty word. It doesn't have to be. And for the most part, it really isn't. We're all doing the same thing. But I do like to go from the perspective that sales isn't the only thing I'm doing here. It's just one of the little things I do with my animals. So me personally, I know that I wouldn't label mine in a way like that. But I will say like the word designer. Somebody brought that up a minute ago. I saw that a while back, and for me, it's depending on who's doing it. If you got a guy that's been in the hobby a really long time, knows his stuff, and really has his own line going, and it has nothing to do with me, you, or anybody else. Like if you go to him, that's where you're going to get those. I kind of feel like that's what that is. It's almost like that word fits in certain instances. Whereas I don't know, fancy. I'm not so sure about. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I wouldn't use fancy. To me, it's just generic. It
Fancy.
means nothing to me. First thing I'm going to think is it's just, like Junior said, just a prettier looking, regular, normal gecko that somebody's just trying to make more money off of. That's immediately what I'm going to think, and that's going to turn me away. so I wouldn't use it.
I feel like if you're working with known genes and you know the genes that are in the geckos you produce, even if
Yeah.
they look like something that would be fancy, why label it fancy when you can just put the genes that you know that are in the gecko versus, the pet store. Some stuff like recessive, you can identify it visually, but they're just labeling it fancy. I mean, a customer walks by, they see normal gecko, they see fancy, $10 more, you know, they
Yeah.
buy it. If they like it, they're going to buy what they like anyway. I feel like it doesn't matter what the word is. If you like the way something looks, you're going to buy it.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I'm
feel
with
like
Derek on that as well. I don't think I'd ever label fancy or designer. Like it's like what he was saying. If you know the genes that are in your animals, you might as well just label them that instead of trying to say fancy or designer or whatever funky name you got going on. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, just I mean, even then, if you just want to call it a leopard gecko, that's fine, and you just label,
Yeah.
the in the genetic area, you could label like I don't know, this gecko is a firebolt, tangerine cross or something, um, that's fine as well. But yeah, designer or fancy, it just seems weird to really put a name on it.
Yeah. So kind of hitting the nail on the head there. They have names. That's another thing. That's a really good point, Junior. They have names. If you have a tangerine, you got your Gecko Genetics tangerine. You have your Tango Crush tangerine that's line bred over at what is that, Utah? Go
Yeah.
Gecko Daddy. So, they kind of already have names, and I feel like if you're working with the right stuff and you get your animals from maybe specific areas, that's what they should be labeled as. Real quick, we have a couple of people here asking some questions. I want to go. SC Reptiles is saying, what are our thoughts on labeling anything as a cross? Actually, Junior, you were just talking about this, and then going down the list, it says define a cross. I don't really know much about the morph stuff with leopard geckos. That would be for lucid arboreals. And then, yeah, so basically, SC is saying, what are our thoughts on labeling anything as a cross anymore?
So I guess I'll add to that because that's like one of the biggest controversies that I go through. A cross is basically so as Joe, I don't know if as Joe and everybody was saying, a line can mean there can be different terms for a line. Of course, you have recessive lines and you have line bred traits as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a certain line, I think animals that are showing different traits compared to your normal tangerine, because a lot of the lines are tangerines anyway, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much the base. So what people are trying to do is trying to basically put a touch on their own tangerines, meaning line breeding to get a certain look in certain lines. And so when you consistently do that line breeding, you're looking for a certain trait, and you're basically mixing those together, and you're trying to keep that pattern going consistently over generation of generation until you form into you establish this line. Now let's say you would call it, I mean, let's just give a term like a firebolt, that's a line. And let's say you would bring in tangerine something, whatever, that would be considered a cross just because it's breaking that phenotype that it's been stacking upon for generations and generations. Now you're bringing in a different genetic strain, and then that would break the consistency, and then now you would consider it a cross if you would have it. If there's better ways to describe that, I mean, you guys are all able to describe that in your guys' own way as well.
Yeah. I mean, but answering to that though, like when it comes to different tangerine lines, so, if you look at a line bred animal that ended up being a tornado or a line bred animal that's an inferno, now they do obviously look very different. So,
Exactly.
and then they produce differences especially when mixed into other animals. Bold tangerines don't work with every tangerine the right way. Well, that's the wrong thing to say. The right way would be the wrong thing to say. The right thing to say would say they don't look like some of the better stuff. Like for instance, not to name drop, but Rudy over at Bolden Bright, his Bengals. Talking to him a little over a year ago, I know that his both tangerines, just he started putting it all in, and a little emerine in there until he got a look he wanted, and now he's just going with that. And he said he'll never stop his project. But specific tangerines produce that result that he has, and not all of them do. So I wonder, if there is a difference in the tangerines a little bit for myself. But I didn't mean to call one right and one wrong. Um, to kind of go off of the what a cross is, um, just to make sure that I answer the question in my own words. For me, what a cross is, it's simple as this: if I have a clown animal and I know where I got it from, and I can trace it back to its creator, meaning I know what created it down the line. Let's say I bought it right from the creator, and then I also buy, um, I don't know, let's go with the same creator just so there's no confusion here. And I buy a Joker animal, that would all be from Matt, right? So I have a clown, I have a Joker. Depends on what he's doing with them and why his projects are doing what they are. But as soon as I pair those two animals together, I've now created a cross. If I pair a Black Knight that I get straight from Ferry out in what is he, Holland, to an animal that is a Black Knight something else cross, but it's really dark, and I pair it to my Black Knight, I now have a crossed animal. I wouldn't say that gives me the ability to name it or call it something new, but it's definitely a cross in my opinion, anyways. So
Yeah, you just simplified what I was trying to explain, pretty
yeah,
much.
what do you think there?
Well, in that case, like what you just mentioned, that's when me and you've talked about like percents, people like using percent or pure lineage. Like, I don't believe every gecko's been bred. They share a lot of similarities when it goes way back because they've all been bred and then line bred.
Yeah,
But if you design something like a Black Knight and then you breed it to something that's not so much a Black Knight, that's where that would come into place, playing the percentage, if you can label it that way. If you can't, you can't. But obviously, if it's black, it's black. But it's because the percentage isn't the same as like with recessive traits, you know. And I think that's a lot of confusion when people see it on there or debate the term being used with like a line bred animal as a percent. Like if I breed my pure lineage Black Knight to my blood sun glow, I'm going
yeah.
to label them what each parent was, but 50% Black Knight lineage.
It's
To my
it's a cross, right? At that
Yeah, it's
point,
a cross.
that's a
It's a
cross.
cross. It's self-explanatory. It's a cross.
Yeah, and so, and you definitely have something new in your hands, Um, but at the same time, there's work that's got to be put into it, and
Yeah.
I think a little bit of the line breeding. Let's say you're not where you want to be with it. It doesn't deserve or necessarily need a name on it, but I would say too. It would be perfectly fine, in my opinion, for somebody to say like this has Black Knight lineage in it. Cool, easy, So but is it a Black Knight? No. If it's a cross, it's a cross. So something I remember a little bit ago, Junior saying is that pretty much everything's a cross, just about at this point. But and you got to be like 99% right on that one, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, if you really want to get into detail, a lot of the lines started off, like what Derek was saying, they all started off because I'm not, I'm a young kid too, so I wasn't in when leopard geckos were starting off, so I really couldn't tell you, history, but just from uh, other breeders, who have been in it longer, the first big thing was your hypo tangerine. That was your biggest sought after look, and at that point, that's where every tangerine started off. At that point, was with an hypo, and people just started combining this and combining that, and they started getting different looks, and that's how your lines started popping out. Where there's the bloods or the infernos or what have it. But at the end of the day, they're just we're all mixing genes together, trying to see what we can, create, or what phenotype we can pop out. So I just like to look at it like that. I mean, at the end of the day, all lines are pretty much crosses, and if you can perfect the look, that's great. I mean, you have something there, and you can, you're totally fine with labeling it something different. But when you start, and there's a lot of wrong ways to line breed as well. I mean, a lot of people don't get that as well. Um, where you're starting to see, okay, maybe first generation, second generation, they have this certain phenotype, but then you just start line breeding that phenotype out of yourself, and you're still consisting or calling it that line when it really and relatively looks the exact same with every tangerine that somebody has. And I was just having a conversation with John about that, because his purple head line is a line that I really like. It's, I mean, I could hatch out a gecko, and I can go 10 years back on his post and have the same similarities from a gecko that he produced 10 years ago. Which is, that's when you're doing proper line breeding, and that you could say that's a line right there. And we were just going over on certain animals that I was hatching that were steering away from the project idea, just because it's so easy to line breed in different directions, and you lose point of what the line is supposed to even look like at the end of the day. So
Yeah. What about you, Jen? You got anything on it?
No, you guys pretty much covered it. Cross is a cross.
Yeah. You could almost say the cross is the road to what you're looking to get. So it's like a crossroad or something. I don't know.
Very
It's the way there, but it's not the old animal that you originally purchased, or especially. And it also depends. Do you get your animals from where they were started, or somebody that keeps the line going from where they were started? Like I don't know her. I've never seen a picture of her, but I know her name is Kelly Hiss. She started the electric tangerine line years and years ago, and I know that you can get those out of Germany right now, but I don't know pretty much anywhere else to get one of those. Um, you can get one from out of California, but I believe they're all crossed into Inferno at this point. So, um, you know, but yeah, so different things are going different places. But let's see here. We got Vinny. He would love to hear everyone's thoughts on the threshold of generations required to consider something its own line. That's a. Anybody want to take that one first? I kind of
um
have an interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting question.
yeah, that is really interesting. I don't know, Jen, do you have anything to add on that?
No, not really. I feel I'm a little too new for that one.
So I don't think there's a requirement of
No,
generation.
I know. I just don't really. I mean, if you go, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
There's nobody sitting at the helm saying this is how you do it, and if there is, you shouldn't listen to them anyways. There's people that are that have been here longer than us that we should reach out to and talk to. You definitely, if you know anybody that's line breeding right now, something that they believe in, I guarantee if they're not done, they haven't named it. They're being a little more responsible than that. But I see no reason why they can't line breed something for a specific result for 10 years or 5. Maybe they're 30 years into it. We have no idea, but they've been doing it that long. I mean, I don't really feel like there's a time limit or any sort of a standard held by a person. But, threshold wise, and then there was a podcast a little while ago where Matt was on there when Inside the Hide was still active on YouTube. He had mentioned a lot about projects, and I believe you can go and watch that one. Listen to what he talks about with projects and how those are, labeled, and you can talk about how you're working on some stuff. And honestly, like I know Matt, he never completes a project. He said, he's said it before, like I just keep going. I change things up. I do things differently. I think a line, in my opinion, would be a project that you said, you know what, I like this. This is actually pretty cool. I'm going to stop here. I might use this animal to make some other stuff, but I'm going to rename that project. And now I'm going to try my best to reproduce this result over and over and over again, proving I can. and then you got to keep it clean. You have to keep it from being sick or inbred or anything like that. And I mean, you could be any amount of years into a project for that. So, SC Reptile said, yeah, just label it a project if you are getting a desired phenotype. There you go. Yeah, exactly. All right. So basically, when it comes to marketing, your animals and stuff like that, you guys are pretty much for naming the animals after their morph and keeping specific words out of it. Now, is there, just to play devil's advocate, let's say that I'm the guy that loves to use those kind of words. What advice would you have for me? I don't, but let's just say I do for the sake of it. Like, what would you tell me? If you could talk to me and go over it.
I can't say what I would say to you live. Well, we got that kind of friendship, so
Yeah. What do you guys got? Let's say you go on my page tomorrow, and
If
I've
you
got
got fancy on there tomorrow, Joe, I'm just gonna be like, if that's how Joe wants to do it, man.
I'm gonna unfriend him. That's what I'm gonna do.
No, I'm not gonna unfriend him. I'll have a conversation with him before I unfriend him.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a talk, Joe. I'm gonna have to
I won't
drive
be
6 hours
buying
just to have a talk with you.
No, really, I'm a new breeder. I saw Fancy at the pet store. Then I go see it on another. I'm doing my best not to name them because I don't want to offend anybody, but another site. And then I'm like, okay, there it is. It's perfectly legal and within the rules to call it that. You see me doing it. You're like, why did he start that? Let's say I'm new.
I think it's okay to reach out and be helpful and really find out why they're labeling it that way, because maybe they don't know.
Okay.
Maybe we need that
Exactly.
education and that help. And as a community, I think that we should help each other in that sense, especially if the person is new. Come on now. I've been there, obviously. I've had to
Yeah.
ask questions about that too because I just legitimately didn't know. I start posting things, should I label it just by its genetics or morphs, or how should I label it? I've asked Matt that question. I've asked you that question. So I really think just getting to the bottom of why they're labeling it that way and trying to help them understand why it's not, I don't want to say the wrong way to label it, but why it may not be looked at well. Because I know I wouldn't buy from somebody that's just got something labeled fancy, especially if I'm looking for more than just a pet. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Plus, you can only really get fancy leopard geckos at PetSmart. We all know that.
Exactly. For $35 or whatever the heck they are.
Basically, wholesale animals. Some of them might be really, really, genetic animals, but they've been wholesaled, so they're not disclosing all the genetics to the pet store. The pet store doesn't care to advertise all those genetics anymore, apparently. So they just put fancy on there. And they just sell it.
And I will be honest, there's a local small family pet store that I wholesale to, and it's not a lot. And he doesn't care. He just, he just wants to make sure it's healthy and it's a good weight and, it's eating, and that's all he cares about. And he puts them in the tank and he labels them the way that he wants to. I still give him the genetics just because I feel that, as a breeder, I want to pass that information on, but he really doesn't care. So,
Yeah, but he's selling pets, So.
Exactly, a pet store. So that's what it should be.
Most breeders that wholesale don't disclose the genetics unless you pay extra for it, and that's a whole nother.
I do, but this is a small family pet store. I've known the guy for a while, so I don't have any problem with doing that. I go in the store all the time. I see my geckos displayed, and literally we're talking 2 to 4 geckos at a time, no more than that. So for me, it's okay. If it was a bigger wholesale thing, if it was somebody else, then I probably wouldn't disclose it.
I always want somebody to know, because if they get the animal and then they decide they want to breed it on their own disclosure, or later on, at least they know what's in there, even if they got the animal for cheaper than.
Well, hopefully they're not breeding pet store wholesale.
I will say this too, like if it's something that offends you or like it takes you out a little bit, and then I'll kind of shut this one off. I honestly for instance, on Morph Market, they have a really cool feature where you can just block the seller. I'm not saying punish people or anything like that, but it's okay to say like, hey, I don't want to see your stuff right now because you're not doing it the way I prefer, and it's in the way of the stuff I do want to see. I honestly would do that if somebody was posting 600 animals a day and blocking all of Derek's animals. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see his stuff too, and they're just getting buried by somebody that doesn't have a sleep pattern. But you could block any account, and the cool thing about social media is you're going to see them as they grow, anyways. It's nothing personal, and you can, hey, oh, this guy's pretty neat. He's kind of moving along. I don't remember him, and then you go look, and oh, you know what? That's why I blocked him. I'm going to go unblock him and see what he's got now. 2 years later, he might have grown a little bit. She might have grown a little bit. So, um, but that's just me. I will literally just use the block feature and not ever have to see it. Because I already know I'm not going to buy it. There's no reason to even have it pop up. I don't know. That's how I would handle it. So um, I wanted to go into the next one. We wanted to talk about husbandry. Excuse me. So husbandry and in, like kind of like the ways that we do it, certain improvements we can do. Um, this one I kind of thought what we can do is kind of go into a little bit of how we each do things, how we keep our containers and how we want to see them kept, and then maybe go at it from there. I say we can do. Junior, you haven't talked in a while. Why don't you start?
Sounds good. Yeah, that's a good topic for sure. Um, Definitely a lot of I get, well, for me personally, I get tired of hearing do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
in, like, I'm not gonna try and offend anybody. I mean, if that's what you're doing, cool, if it's working for you. But I always try to stress that, not because they can, thrive in so little means you want to do that. I mean, it's just like, dogs, cats. I mean, you know they can survive in, shitty environments as well. But I mean, we all try to make sure these animals are well taken care of, and just like us, we like to, we like our space, we like, to do things differently. And same thing are the animals. I'm pretty sure they get tired of the same old. um as going far as husbandry, I like to, for me, I keep I mean, some people say, you can keep males in, let's say, 6 quart tubs because all they do is breed and they just, blah, blah, blah. I've never been that way. I like to keep all my breeders in, bigger tubs, whether it's 28 quart tubs or bigger if I can. um, and I don't even start breeding females until they're actually upgraded. I mean, I used to, do it in smaller tubs, and but at that point I just feel like, I mean, she just doesn't want to be in a smaller container just to get out of a lay box and kind of walk around for maybe, by the time she takes 2 steps, she's at the end of her tub.
yeah.
So definitely that with breeding as well. It takes account, like, you obviously want to take account into, if you're going to breed, make sure your animals are, up to date with, the enclosures that they need. Especially, the vitamins. I mean, vitamins is important as well. That
Very.
goes into
Yeah.
husbandry. That's a part that you really have to think about. Not only just the enclosure, you definitely want to think about, the food that you're feeding while your females are going through this stressful time. Just stuff like that. I mean, the little stuff a lot of people don't think about actually does help your environment for your animals, and makes it a lot better if you just take a step back and really think about what you're doing. Even for me, I think around the gram stage, I like to. That's when I start, upgrading my animals. I'll change from, because I do use the VE racks. So I'd go through. So my 35 grammars are from 35 gram to like 50 grams. They'll be in 11 quart tubs, which is pretty long. It's a long tub, and it's a nice grow out tub for sure. If I'm not planning on breeding, I do try and they can stay in there a little longer, but I try not to do that. By the time each gecko's around like 65 grams, they're already in the 28 quart tub. Um, and I know some people say it takes up space, but that's just our responsibility. When we're breeding, we definitely want to make sure all the animals are put in the right enclosures. Because breeding is just not breeding. Like I always try to say, breeding, yeah, it's fun. Yeah, you get to connect with a lot of people, but you always got to put the animals in best interest, of course.
Yeah.
Um, And I don't, I wish that would not get pushed away, just because you want to have 30 geckos and you want to breed 30 geckos, but you're keeping your 30 geckos in 6-quart containers because you didn't think, you didn't make a plan before you just jumped in. So that's
Yeah.
definitely one thing, try and just, like I said, just keep in mind that your animals are more than just your animals. They're not, I mean, they're pets, of course, but you want to provide as much as you can for these animals. I mean, the decency, the courtesy, and also respecting the animals. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, who would like to be locked up in a in a bare minimum enclosure and just being bred, and pretty much like you're using them for their body pretty much and their
Yeah.
sole purpose. So yeah, definitely just keep in mind of that stuff, and that's kind of stuff that I try to push as much as I can. Um,
Anybody else have anything on the subject?
I
Yeah,
agree.
no.
You
Go
guys
ahead.
do that every time.
You want to talk first?
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. I was going to just touch on what Junior said. I'm actually doing that right now. Fortunately, my husband can build racks. So we're upgrading, and I started off small, obviously. So nothing smaller than a 12 quart though is what my guys are in. And I still have some that are, larger that are still in a 12 quart. But as we're able to build more racks and make more space, the 28 quart is the way that we're going to go, for the same reason. And Joe gave me a good idea about the pool, just giving them some exercise, so we have a pool, kind of get them out for some enrichment. We do what I call social hour. So my kids will go in, we'll get them out, we'll play with them, we'll let them kind of crawl around, because I feel like that's important too, to keep their brain, you know, moving and grooving and thinking, and not just stuck in that bin all the time. So that's all I really wanted to put onto it. I do it a little bit different, but we're moving that direction.
All right, Derek.
No, I agree. I got several racks. I've got V6 racks, several of them. Animal plastics. If you can wait 6 to 8 months to get one, that's my preferred. That's my preferred rack. It's the best bang for your buck. I feel like it's probably made a little bit better than some of its competitors. If I have to actually get in there and do the dimensions and look at it. Yeah, I see you, Joe. I see you. But the only downside of that and keeping them in the big tubs in the universal rack, because it's got where you can put 212s. I think it's 212s, or it's like a
Yeah.
20, it's 28. Is it
Yeah,
28
it's
or
really,
23?
yeah.
Okay. Well, it's long ways, and instead of depth like what you would normally do or with ball pythons. But it does work. It does work, and I do prefer the bigger tubs. The 12 quarts are okay. The V6, I really like it as far, but you can't see the animal unless you pull the drawers open, which some animals prefer that. So it's just, I've
Yeah.
experimented with all three rack companies, all three major rack
Yeah.
companies. And
And Animal Plastic actually uses container store tubs. So that's what
mhm,
I use. So my husband's building PVC. He built PVC racks for me. So we started off, I'll admit it, wood. It was my first
Oh
two
yeah,
racks I
that's
had.
awesome.
And I mean, they worked. The geckos were happy. They were healthy. They had their heat. They had everything they needed. But for me personally, I want them in PVC. I want them, in a better environment. So he's built three so far for me, and I use the container store tubs. So the 28 quart ones, there, they're really nice. But you're right, they're width this way. They're not, very deep. So it is nice to have that option to do the 12 quarts or to do the 128. So I do like that. So we
Yeah.
kind of go based on those tub dimensions. That's how he builds on.
I would say almost everybody starts off with a wooden rack, just about. I
Yeah.
mean, I know
Yeah.
I'm a builder, so I mean, of course.
Well, for me, it was like I wanted to make sure that I was going to be successful at this, and that I was going to be able to do it appropriately for the animals. You know what I mean? I wanted to make sure that, not just for me. I mean, I don't care about the money. Obviously, I do it because I love it. So it wasn't anything like that, but I didn't want to spend all that money if I wasn't going to be good at what I'm doing and taking care of these animals appropriately. So wood was just, it was a cheaper way of just starting off and getting going, and seeing if this passion was really going to, you
Yeah.
know, be worthwhile, I guess is the best way to
Yeah,
say it.
one of my first
I like
passions was the geckos, but
huh?
then I remember one of my first passions was the geckos, and then I built my first rack and I hated it. And I was just like, I can do better than that. So I ended up sitting there with like paper and pencil and drawing. I got an application on my computer, and I ended up designing shelves that were hollowed out. And on the top layer, I used a thin line of dry erase marker, kind of a flat board, because it's slippery and it slides the the tubs on it, and I could write on it, in front of every animal. And I would write all my notes right in front of the tub every time. My hollowed out boards, I could fit the second rack I built was 33 animals. And it was in a nice shoebox sized tub from the Container Store, which was awesome. They were nice, thicker plastic. And then you could grab it though and pick it up with your two fingers because it was 90 pounds. It wasn't heavy at all. 33 animal rack is pretty heavy usually. So the one I built with the hollowed out shelves, I loved that thing. I built another one immediately, and when I ended up moving towards, because they're a little more slender than what I built, I could fit more racks. But also, it's just the PVC gives you that uniformity, and it's almost like bigger tubs because I do the V35s. But the way they do it, it's nice, and they come out instead of like I did, and it was bigger and better for the animals. I decided to go that route. So.
I
Um,
also, I'm going to add one more thing with the wood ones. I'm not knocking my wood racks. I'm really not, but I hated them too.
No, I'm
But
laughing
my
at Clint.
thing,
Clint's over here talking. Somebody asked about cohabbing. Clint said, "Gotta
uh,
keep them separated."
yeah, we don't. I don't cohab. I don't cohab. I won't cohab.
Yeah, no
I won't even
bueno.
get on that subject, but I won't cohab. If there's not enough room for them each to have their own bin, then I don't need them. That's my personal feeling, my personal opinion.
Yeah,
But with the wood, I'm going to go back to that. The PVC I like too because I feel like it's more cleanly. Like I can clean it easier than you really
easier. Yeah,
would. I mean, you can clean both, but I just really feel like, I can just keep it clean a little bit better than I can the wood as well. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I wanted to add too with wood because I actually frame for a living. So
yep,
I mean, my problem with the wood one was with whatever you use like CDX, melamine, because I've tried all of them. Just I mean, melamine's probably your best bet, but over the time, wood warps,
yeah.
and sagging issues, and your stuff
yep.
starts to sag. So your shelves, maybe 2 or 3 shelves down, you're having a harder time sliding in the tubs just from the weight, and you know first shelf, maybe the first very shelf you start gapping so much, you're in between your tubs, it starts growing from maybe a 16 to maybe a quarter, and then you're having geckos escape. So I hated them as well because I've always had that issue. It's either they're gonna sag and the geckos were escaping, or eventually they start warping. So you'd look at a rack and you got a big old rainbow in your shelves, and so yeah, I mean that's why I decided to go PVC. It was just for what you guys are saying. It's a lot easier to clean, and not to mention a little, a lot lighter than what you're using with wood.
You're
So
right. You're right. And it's easy to put something under it with wheels. My husbandry's on point. I went a little overboard with it, in my opinion. But you know what? Since I went that way, I hear all these experiences other people have, and I don't have them, so I can't say that it's necessarily wrong. But like I have my V35s, which is a 27 quart tub. I went and paid I just bought it so I'd have it, but you put D batteries in it, and you wave your hand in front of it, it drops paper, rather than use newspaper. Newspaper is not a bad thing or anything like that. It's free, and if you can find it, in bulk, which I would need. But what I ended up doing was getting a specific machine that you just hang on the wall. I wave my hand in front of it as I'm doing stuff. I use that paper to clean. I use that hand paper towel stuff to line the bottom of my tubs. And then Gauge Boy asked about humidity a little while ago. I initially will spray the paper on so it'll set at the bottom, and it's a thin paper. It helps keep the bottom of the tub clean, but it doesn't take too much of their smell away when I clean it out, because you don't want to do that to the males, especially. But I like to put a mixture in my bedding inside my plastic containers, and then I add water and spray down those. So when they go into there, that's where they'll get the majority of their humidity. But of course, every clean enclosure is going to start out with some humidity, and we clean once, sometimes twice a week, so humidity is constantly being added in. And then there's the geckos that prefer to drink water off the side, so you got to spray them. Um, Now, I will say that I always have standing calcium, and my calcium, I have the Osteoform SA. That's what I use. But also, in my feeder dishes, I put Vionate in there. I don't have standing Vionate. I don't think that's necessarily necessary because it's always with their food, and I don't overdo it. It's at the bottom. I put enough in there, and then I throw the worms on top and shake it around. Um, but calcium is one of those things where it is always in the tub. It's got its own little area. Nothing's blended with it. Nothing's mixed with it. And you'll see them walk right up to it, stick their face in it, and eat it, rather than eat food. Like so.
That's
That
cute.
they need it. Lucid UVB and UVA are not necessary with leopard geckos. You will need standing calcium though, and I don't know if you guys do this, but I purify their water with, um, the right stuff from. You can get that from a aquatic section, but I make sure the water is nice and clean. That's it right there. Yeah,
That's what I use.
yep. About a gallon of water could use like a drop, maybe two of that, and it lasts forever.
Yeah,
Um,
it doesn't take much.
I didn't see my last bottle had an expiration date, but the one before did. So after like I knew I had it a while, because two drops it'll last forever. I chucked it and got a new one. I don't know if that stuff expires or not. It
It
used to.
does have an expiration date though.
Does yours have one on it?
Yeah, it's not until the end of 25, but
Yeah, D3 is something that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Vionate has D3 in it. Am I right?
I'm not too sure. I really
Yeah,
haven't looked on
I got
the,
it right
the,
here.
I'm pretty
the
It
sure
has
formula.
it's
153.
like
It has 4,000 IUs per kilogram.
D3. Okay, so yeah, Gauge Boy D3 is in the Vionate.
Yeah, it has a lot of the good stuff because I use the Bionate as well, and I
Yeah.
use the Osteo for the calcium.
And my setup, I don't have MBD in my collection ever. I've had an animal come to me with MBD, and then it stopped there. I petted the animal out when I realized that the arm was doing that, but it was doing that since I got it, so it wasn't something I caused. And it's not that I'm above causing it. Before in 2011 when I had leopard geckos, I had framed a nice table, and then I put a bunch of like tanks on it with overhead lighting. I did it all wrong, right? Not 100% wrong, but like if you're going to be a breeder, that's not really how you do it. Um, and so it's just one of those where yeah. But MBD is not something I deal with ever. I think the standing calcium really helps with that, and then putting Vinate in all their food. Do you guys all use Vinate?
Yeah,
Obviously, I do.
I've used several
yeah, I
things, but
do.
yes, I use osteoform and Vonate as well, and Repashy Plus.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Okay.
you guys do this when you feed. Sorry, Derek, but I take the Bionate and actually the calcium, and I do kind of like a mix of the two. I learned that from Matt. That's a back. I do a mix of the two, and that's kind of what I put on the worms. But I also gut load them with obviously fresh veggies and
Nice.
stuff before I feed them. So yeah,
Yeah, I do the same. I keep a mixture, and my mixture is kind of weird. I mean, if you see my powder mixture, like you'd probably think like what's going on there. But I
What do you got? What do
also
you got?
I also add some greens, some healthy greens that are like some certain stuff that there might be missing in the vitamins, like a little bit of iron, a little bit of protein, not high traces of it because you don't want to really give them too much. But yeah, so I do that a little bit, and then I also do bee pollen every now and again. I'll add it into my mixture, not all the
Yeah.
time, but
that's
so
funny
I'll
you
do
said
it.
that 'cause I was going to ask if you guys use the bee pollen because
Oh
that's a big.
yeah, not every day, but I do use it. Vitamins are good for animals, and humans are animals. We take vitamins for improvement of our bones and our skills and our abilities. I know there's like an argument that's like, oh, the bee pollen enhances their color. You know what? If it does that, that means the vitamin is enhancing something that naturally is there. It's not like somebody's injecting them with anything. It's a vitamin. You know, if I want, you can't go on what is it like Instagram or TikTok right now without seeing Shilajit. Have you heard of that stuff? It's a new. You mix it in water, drink it. It's supposed to be the best thing for humans and all that. But you know, if I were to drink that stuff and it's a vitamin, and then I run faster and think smarter and take alpha brain and all those things, those are just vitamins. The people
Yeah,
that I use, and not all the time. You know, they don't need it every day, but I think it's healthy for them. And when I do use it, I notice some differences down the line if it's going on 2 months. And you know what, man? If I had a really nice tangerine, um, and then she goes brown, you know, like first thing I'm going to think is that's a probably a mandarin, which means gecko genetics tangerine. But the other thing is if I know what it is, obviously I'll know the difference because I've seen others that have done it as well. But if I give that animal, you know, some extra vitamins, like if you know you said greens, Junior, and the animal colors up again, what did I do so wrong? You know, so I definitely am for vitamins and bee pollen is a vitamin. Um, but
There's
yeah,
so many options out there for it too. You'll have to share what you use, and I'll take a look at it for the bee pollen.
yeah. Who
What kind of
disagrees?
foods do
Does
you
anybody disagree in the comments or anybody here?
no.
No.
I mean I've heard of that too as well. The bee pollen colors up, but I figured out my own because I at one point I had animals that would come to me and I would send like pictures to the people that I've got them. They're like, man, they're really their colors just dropped a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and I've had a lot of animals that just for some reason didn't have like a bright look to them. They had just a dark, like a really dark color to them. And for me, what I seen, what was going on with for mine was, my vitamins mix was kind of a little off. So I adjusted it to where for my animals' needs, and obviously like the food as well. Like I started gut loading a lot more because I wasn't really into gut loading at first.
Okay.
Because I would just order mealworms for like a week or 2 week of feeding, so that way they were just coming in and I was just throwing them in and they're in and out. They weren't really sitting there. But now I do things differently. Now, obviously, you always learn different things. So now I do gut load. So gut loading definitely, and adjusting your vitamins. For some reason that helped my animals. Now I don't really have animals that go through that phase where they're just super dark all the time, unless they're shedding. Of course, like the tangerines that I work with, they look a lot darker when they're in shed compared to when they're out of shed. I fixed that problem from just, I guess, I don't know if it was what it was, but I adjusted a couple things and that helped out a lot. So I want to lean towards maybe it was something, maybe the vitamins that I was giving, just had higher or something at that time. So
Yeah. You know, this is just because we all do, like, we have the same passion in reptiles. Does anybody else, when they gut load their worms, do you ever geek out and just notice how, like, really cool they look? Like the mealworms? Like, afterwards, they're
yeah,
shiny and they're, like, extra everything, and,
a little fatter?
yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, and then you stick your hand in there and pick them up and you're like, dude, these look good. I bet the animals will love them.
And you got to vacuum all the skins out.
yeah,
Yeah,
And
definitely.
they blow everywhere. They stick in your tubs when you go. If you
Yeah,
don't.
I walk mine outside and blow at the top of the tub after they've
I
been
do.
sitting there a minute, and it just goes away on its own. It's good for the grass.
Yeah.
yeah. I gave up. I oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're okay, Junior. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I stopped. I stopped vacuuming them out or trying to skim the. Because one time I accidentally vacuumed up half of my mealworms and it was just a
Oh,
mess. I was trying to pick, it was just dust, and I couldn't even pick through them. So I'm like, oh man. I was like, so yeah, I just do that now too. I just kind of take the tubs outside or something and blow them every now and again.
yeah.
Just don't leave them outside. Joe will tell you what happens.
Yeah, I got my. I was doing really good with my mealworm colony, and I'm going to pick it up in April when I move my shop for the last time. But
You're probably outside.
yeah, I set them outside. I ran to go get some stuff we were moving, and I come back and the birds ate all of them. It was not
Oh
even an
man.
hour, man. Like they were gone, dude, my whole farm. And
Yep.
I was like, they'll be okay here for like couple of minutes here. Vinny is asking what percent mix of bee pollen does everybody use? I don't do that. I literally grind it up in a little like kitchen device and I sprinkle it on the top. That's all I do. I don't really pay attention to how much I use. And I've never hurt an animal, so hopefully my way is good. Anybody that disagrees with it, feel free to share that with me. I'm
What
open.
about you, Junior?
No, I definitely do the same. I usually just use a little bullet. I have a little bullet that's designated to that, and I grind it all up, and I mix in a pretty big container, so I usually just one pack is pretty much good enough for my mix. I mean, I mix it into. I mean, I don't really do a ratio either myself. I just kind of gauge on what what I'm adding to them, of course. And if I know when it's too much, obviously, if the powder is too yellow, or but yeah, I just usually grind it up and then just dump as I need. Because I don't like to feed them bee pollen all the time either.
No, no, I'll do like a month on and maybe like a couple months off. It just depends.
Yeah,
It's. Do I see that they look like they need some enrichment or something different? And honestly, anytime you put something new in there, they go pretty much nuts about it as soon as they smell it. I feel like,
yeah.
but
I've been trying this green mix. If you want to try it, it's called a Springula mix. I just dumped the last of my bit. Um,
spirulina.
yeah, spirulina. Yeah. I use that. I add it. I add it. I've seen them more aggressive to eat because I actually just fed today and I've been sitting here and I've just been hearing all of them launch at their bowls right now. So
Yeah,
I've seen them; they've really been enjoying that mix as well. And it's funny because their poop gets all green and stuff, so it's funny.
yeah. Well,
But I mean, it's
spirulina. They're saying it extends human life. I don't know the studies behind it. I've heard that thing. And but yeah, spirulina is like one of those things that just keeps you young and healthy for a long time. So I'm wondering if it has any positive effects um, on them.
I'm
You're
sure.
noticing good stuff.
Yeah, I've been noticing. Like I said, they're just more energetic, and for some reason, their attitude is way better too. I mean, they're more fired up. They wanna. They're just like I said, just more
So they're more
energetic.
animated.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I can open a tub and they're just going crazy. Um,
Did you just start getting a capsule thing and opening it, or did you find it?
No, it's an organic. It's pretty much like how you can order bee pollen. I got it off of Amazon. Greg over at Blizzy Bold actually recommended it to me.
Okay.
And I tried it, and it's beneficial for sure. I've seen a lot of benefits from it. Like I said, they're just more. You could tell, you could just tell your animals. I mean, just working with your animals for so long, and certain breeders, and when you start changing a little bit of certain things, you can see a little change in them. I mean, for sure, like I said, their energy level is definitely a lot better.
Okay.
I don't have lazy geckos. I hardly have lazy geckos anymore.
I've got a
Or
few. Maybe I should try it out. Yeah,
they're-
I'm gonna get
uh,
that link from you later. I'll write it down too, but I'm gonna put it in the description. It's not already there, but I'll add it later so maybe others can try it. Because
Yeah,
vitamins are
right.
good. What do you think, Derek?
I use bee pollen also, but like I was saying, I use Repeshi also. It was one of the first decent things I was using, and it sticks to the worms really good. So not every feeding, but usually every other feeding or so, I dash Repeshi in there. Never had an issue with Repeshi.
Okay.
I got a big tub of it too. I ordered a big tub of it. I have calcium in there, and I probably just need to give away. I got like a 5 gallon bucket or a 2 gallon bucket, but it's without D3 when I first ordered it, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't really want to use that, but I mean, I guess I could incorporate
Well, the
here.
D3 is in the Vionate. If you use
Yeah,
Vionate, then you kind of
yeah,
cover it.
Yeah.
I need to order more of that too, probably.
Yeah. All right. So next one, I wanted to go over a little bit when it had to do with pairing. I know we had a subject for having issues with pairing, or if we've had any issues with pairing animals, and kind of like going over your experiences, um, what you're thinking about, your collection and how they add, and just little if you've had any trouble or anything positive that you could share. Um, is everybody pairing right now?
Yes. Well,
Because I know
I
it's
have an
time right now.
expectation.
So
We've been in competition, so you know I am.
Yeah, it's not competition
He'll text
when
me a number, and I'm like,
not
you
competition when I've had the most the entire time, literally.
not the entire time. We've been connected for a while, so let's go back.
Yeah,
I have proof. I have proof on here.
you had like 3 hours. I know you took the lead. I
I
was
I've
proud.
got a
I
boy
think
boy
I think
today.
I think
I've got
me
a
and
boy
Joe.
today.
I think I texted Joe and I told him I was like, man, I'm already pairing up, and I think it was in December, right? When I messaged you and you're like, wow. But yeah,
Yeah,
for me on the on pairing side, I usually have problems every year because my females usually go early, like December, January. I'm usually like 10, 15 females, if that, which I don't pair 15 females a season. I mean, I don't believe in, well, me personally, I don't want to breed so much a year. I try and keep it small every year. If there's stuff that excites me and I'm like, man, I got to pair it, then I'll go over the numbers that I usually pair. But other than that, yeah, I always have problems just because for some reason, I've talked to a couple breeders, and they said the same thing. Just the timing of the year that they choose to go into season, they've always had more success just waiting it out, a little later. And that's only been my issue really, is just for whatever reason. I mean, I have 30-gram females right now that been ovulating since December. And obviously we're not breeding those, but it's just, yeah, it's just weird that I've always had problems just due to the timing that they chose. And every single female in my collection usually starts in December. And I rarely have any females that don't keep that. Even new females that come from other breeders that have been in the season, or been in their care for so long, and they'll come right here and just instantly it's like they're wanting to breed as soon as they come here. But yeah, that's the only problems I've had really, is just them going too early. Especially to what a lot of people don't account for is if your females are a little bit heavy, you can have some issues too. Because I've had issues myself where females have been too heavy, and yeah, they're not the best breeders when they're a little bit heavy. So
I think my first pairing was January 9th. So
I don't remember the date on mine, but it was in January. I never get December, man. You're lucky.
none of them were. I started looking in December. I think you and I both were, Joe, but I didn't have the first one until right around the 9th, and I paired her on the 9th. But I did find her eggs were infertile.
No,
So,
so
yeah, so I'm kind of, I used her last year and I was iffy if I should even use her. So that's a good thing I wanted to ask you guys to your advice on. But I used her last year and I had success with her. I actually kept a hold back. And Joe thought I was crazy. I was going to even get rid of it.
yeah, send
I
it.
know she's, I know she's fertile. Like I know she can produce babies, but that
Yeah,
first one was a dud. But what do you guys think about? Do you pair your girls like year after year? Do you do like 2 years and then take a break, or do you do a year? Because I was thinking maybe a year on, a year off. But kind of with her because she only gave me 2 clutches last year, which was her first year. So I kind of figured it would be a little less. But I wanted to try her again because she did produce some nice little. Thank you.
yeah. Sorry, what was the question? I was listening.
You aren't
And
listening. You aren't listening. Do you guys like to give them a break? So do you pair 2 years? Like, do you just consistently pair them every year? Do you give them pair a year
oh, I
and
see.
then you're off?
What
So
about you, Derek?
I've paired several years back to back. If it's a good female, I've paired her several years. I got one that I want to retire though, but I'm probably going to pair her one more time because there's something I want to get something from her that I don't already have from a different male. So
Yeah, me, I'm not really in a hurry with everything. So with that perspective, like, do I want to move certain projects forward? Yeah, but I'm not going anywhere, so I will anyways. In the no matter how much time, unless of course I get hit by a bus. But for the most part, like I know that I'll pair 2 years in a row, and if I do that, I'll take a year off. That's just what I do. Two is the max. I don't see a problem with going more than that. I'm not saying I know the answer to everything on that one, but I typically will just let them have a year to do what they do. Jen, just so you know, Micah was saying on here that if the first clutch is bad, just repair the pairing.
That's what I was thinking. I was going to stick her back with the male and see.
Yeah, I usually for the beginning, there were certain projects that I wanted to, get off the ground. But I mean, Joe made it seem like, yeah, I could have just waited. But um, no, I'm the same way. Like just like what Derek was saying, like there's certain females that I do have in my collection that I'm like I just favor more, and that I'll just want to breed, just because I enjoy what she produces. She's a good female, um, and certain females that are really nice as well. I'll give them a rest or two. This year, actually, I last year I rested a lot of females. And this year there's some of them that are resting that won't even breed either. Uh, so it just depends, I guess. For me, it's like depending on project wise. For projects, I'm heading in the right direction that I want to. So I'm where Joe's at pretty much is I can wait now. I don't have to rush. I already hit the markers that I wanted to hit, and so now I'm just letting females grow out longer, or just mature more, or just give them a break. They're good. I already produced what I wanted to see. So on that standpoint,
Cool.
Now, what about introducing males and females together? How do y'all do it? I introduce a male and I give them a small period of time, and I'm usually standing right there or running back and forth. Okay. Usually, if it don't happen right away, I know, okay, I can push this a little bit maybe. So I'll stand there and I just kind of watch, but I don't never leave them overnight.
Yeah, I'm not
I
comfortable
usually
leaving.
introduce the male to the female in her tub. Now, the issue, because I brought up the topic, I think I wanted to discuss it. Joe hasn't had this problem, I don't think, but I have. When trying a male, and a male is not going to work, so you wait a day or something, or you throw a different male in there. Sometimes that male will straight up go attack that female because I think he smells the scent of another male either on her or in the lining of her tub. So I've switched it up, and anytime I'm gonna switch a male, I give several day period, wash the whole tub out and everything before I introduce a different male to the female.
Now you pair them in a separate tub that's not the male's tub.
No, I put the male in the female tub just for pairing.
The male and the female. Okay, so that might have something to do with it. I'm not the expert on this. Hopefully, in the comments we'll see something. But I've been told that the male's scent is very important to them,
Hmm.
and so during breeding season, it's one of those times where you want to definitely sanitize the tank as often as it's going to make the animal sick, but you want to try not to overdo it and take away what he's because if you ever put them in a new tank, you take a male and a female, you put them in a new tank. What I've noticed, no animals in it. The tank's completely sanitized. I even left it outside in the sun for a couple days for that sun sanitization. The male will first start dragging his back bottom around, like before he'll go over towards the female, then he'll literally go away from her and drag his ass around,
He's
like
marking his territory.
that's what I'm thinking, like
Some
I'm
of
not
them
I,
do it.
I
on
should
that.
remind you that. Yeah.
But I usually will put the female in the male tub. And speaking of pairing, so because I had a really tragic, and I've talked about it in the past, just like event happened, I will watch. I always watch them and make sure that I see a visual lock, not too much fighting, because even an ovulating female will sometimes just be like, "Get off me." Did anybody watch that live? Because Micah just reminded me of it because she's on here. She was with Denise and Heidi, and she was doing an awful lot of talking, and she's sitting there just nonchalantly clearing animals, and I'm over here struggling. And she's putting it there, and she's like, she sets it down, and then like her hand came up after she set it down, and then she's like, "Oh, look at that, they locked," and then keeps talking like it's just not a big deal. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I think I saw her pair like 5 animals that day, just right in front of me. So that's what the level that I want to get on is. However, that worked out.
yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Joe. Because I've actually had problems putting females in the male's tub just because the first sign they think of it as a threat, pretty much. So
Oh,
I've had males actually charge females. What Derek was saying, I've actually had males charge females rather than in a breeding response, just because you're throwing a new scent in there and he's already got that scent down, and he's probably thinking, well, this is new, this is my territory. So I've
Yeah.
definitely had issues with putting females in the males tub. So that's why I usually
Go
put
to
the
the
males and
female.
females, and um, it seems to trigger them a lot more for some reason, because the females pheromones and whatever is going on there. And then also too, I mean, some males are just lazy, man. I mean, I was talking to you about it when I was down there. I think I have one male that's pretty much a new breeder, and probably the best male I've had. And within this is my fourth year going on breeding, and he's probably the best male I've ever had. He's just really aggressive with it. I mean, he gets the job done quickly. Then a lot of males have had to sit there, because I'm the same way. I have to watch a lock, and then I'll take the male out, because I just I believe in the male. I know how males are. I know they're for sure going to stress the females out, and I just try to keep the stress as low as I can while they're breeding, for the female's sake, of course. Um, yeah, and I mean, I've had sessions where I'm just doing two pairings, and it's taking me 2 hours, just because the males just they'll just
Yeah.
sit there and just. But this male, I mean, I can put him in 2 minutes and I'm done pairing. So that
That's
that
cool.
plays a factor too with your breeders. I mean, your males. Some males are really not really aggressive breeders, and it's just a hit and a miss. I mean, you can't really control if you're gonna have a good breeder or not. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that plays a big factor as well.
Well, some good news. I had a bad breeding female. I've had her for years now. She's absolutely gorgeous. I want what she will produce so badly, but she won't pair, ovulating or not. It just won't happen. Well, she finally just, I don't know if it's like I found, I don't know. I found the right one, but she paired the other day, and so I was really excited about that. I think I posted a little bit about it, just kind of bragging because I was, 3 years running. I didn't want to pet her out, like, but maybe I won't have to. We'll see what happens. But that's an issue with females who ovulating or not won't pair. Um, gonna have to send them over to Micah's, to MS Farms, where they get
I
definitely.
think I was telling you about that same female too. I've had her for 2 seasons now. I've been trying, and I mean, she usually refuses every male. I've tried 4 different males in one season, and she just refused. This season, I actually paired her, and she actually, she accepted this one male finally, and I was like, man, I was so excited. I was like, just because I was like, I knew that feeling too. I was like, man, I've been trying, and I want to really see what she produces, because she's yet to produce for me, and
Yeah,
just and now she paired, and I got her to pair, and then the male got injured. I was like, oh man, no. And then she ended up not taking from those pairings. So and he was a young. I mean, he's a new breeder as well. I mean, I kept him for a year as well, and I just let him grow out. He was one of those males that I just really wanted to grow out and see how his
yeah,
phenotype changed or whatnot, and kind of see where I could put him. But yeah, this year I was really sad about that too. I finally got her to pair, and she didn't take, and he got injured. I was like, man.
yeah,
Um, so I just decided to give him off this year again. I just decided to give him a break, and just maybe, hopefully, see if it'll change. But
yeah. You can always hope. We got a comment here. I'm not sure who it is. It says Apple and some numbers, but it says it seems that no leopard gecko breeders publicly display lineage information. Is there a reason for this? It says like the way a lot of crested, bleachy, other animals do. So I actually don't think necessarily that I agree with that. There's a lot of us that do display lineages. I will say that there are more morphs in the leopard gecko community than there are in the crested, so it might have something to do with that. Why what you're looking at might be missing. I'm not the expert in it, but it would make sense to me that there are more leopard gecko breeders, and maybe a lot of them are not the ones you ought to be buying from. I can't name any of them. I don't know who they are. You should pay attention to what you think is right and go at it that way. And then actually, that question, it's funny, actually, I wanted to talk about something that this whoever this is, gentleman or lady, just reminded me of, is references, vetting breeders. Just I don't know if anybody here does anything with vetting breeders, but I wanted to, kind of breach that topic as kind of a final one for the night and go over it. And so I'll kind of give you an idea of what I mean by that, and this might help answer your question, Apple 1204881. before I will buy an animal, I will ask, and I didn't used to do this, but I've had a little bit more success. I will ask three unrelated people, meaning they're not all friends with each other, questions about somebody that I don't know. And it's just a way of vetting breeders. There's a lot of breeders out there that are shit, and then there's a lot of breeders out there that are pretty neutral, and it's fine to get some stuff from them. There's a lot of breeders out there that are doing their best and still getting it wrong. And then there's breeders that are getting it right. You also have your breeders that are, they've been in it for a really long time and they know what they're doing a lot more than me and a lot more than, anybody. Those are the guys that I like to reach out to for information, but I also do buy from them as well. One of the things I will do is ask around, before I ever reach out to them. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about this person? The reason I do that is that we have people in the community that are good for it and people that are not. And I want to know if I can get two out of the three people to say something positive about that breeder. And then I look into what they're doing and what people are saying about them a little bit before I go investing my money. I don't, like there's this some I hear some folks say something about breeders like that'll just go out there and buy a bunch of bangers and then work with them, and to me I think that's a fine thing. I've done a little bit of that because I'm working with stuff that everybody wants, and so I'm getting to know it. I'm learning about it. They are colorful. It makes me feel more passionate about it because of what they're producing, and I spent my money the way I wanted to, But before I did, I vet the breeder. I look around and I ask questions and see. I kind of was wondering if you guys do anything like that, or if you kind of, make sure, you're getting something quality before you do.
I didn't at the beginning, and I got
Mhm.
burnt.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, so now I'm definitely more particular. I kind of do the same thing. Obviously, I'm friends with Matt. He's an old school, he's been around forever. He's got his opinions. I ask him. I talk to other breeders too, and pretty much that's where I'm at. But I'm not buying a lot these days, anyways. But
Yeah.
definitely, it's priority before I just jump in like I did in the beginning and just think all is great and find out I just flush my money down the toilet. So,
And that's what it made you feel like. So not vetting the breeder kind of made you.
absolutely. And, I was, Joe, you know this personally, but like I
Yeah.
was literally started from ground zero again. Everything I had was not something I wanted to be tied to. So it
Okay.
was like summer. Yeah, it was a hit. So I had to get rid of pretty much my entire collection and start all over. So
Okay.
definitely vetting is important. I definitely think vetting is extremely important.
Yeah. Just knowing who you're talking to and who you're getting information from, because it's coming from all over, but
Yeah.
you gotta make sure that you're spending your money correctly, in my opinion.
And if you're going to leave things out, or you're doing unethical things, I want to know that because that tells me a lot about
Okay.
that person.
What about you guys? What do you guys think on it?
Just like how Jen was saying, I mean, I did the same thing. I mean, when I first started, I had to do the exact same thing. I had to pretty much restart and focus up and kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And um, so I did the same thing where I was buying breeders that or buying from breeders that weren't super reputable, and just I mean, I think the very first breeder that I bought from, I ended up hatching out enigmas, and I didn't even know what enigmas were at the time. And I started getting heat for it because I was hatching out enigmas, and the whole story on those stuff. But
Yeah.
um I started, and then I didn't know, for just because I didn't buy from somebody that knew what was going on, didn't inform me. And so I pretty much had to scrap again and just restarted. And I did it in a different way, where I just kind of searched around for a little bit before jumping right back in and saying, let me just try it again. And I just kind of took a step back, and um yeah, I started doing that, just buying from reputable breeders, and made sure every animal had, good background, of course, before I bought. And just like what you were saying, Jen, I don't, I started, when you start off good, at a certain stage, you don't even have to really look for anything at that point because you're starting to produce what you need and what you want. And with obviously when you're buying from reputable breeders, you hardly have to look for anything at that point.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Derek?
I've looked at reviews and stuff. I started off getting from, I'll say my main ones came from Geckos, etc. to start off, and then of course from Canada at the Urban, and then I went to Calico and a couple of others. But as I started utilizing Morph Market, I looked at reviews, looked at how their popularity was on there, looked at how they labeled stuff, and then have a conversation with them. I always made sure I really wanted an animal before wasting their time, though, and then how they went back with the conversation. If they were like, if they give me the genetics for, they got their breeders from, JMG or somebody like that, their buddies or something, I would reach out. I would reach out to that source and, verify that before I bought an animal from them. And I have done that before. And then I did buy the animal. So, and fully happy about it. One of my Black Knight girls, actually. So,
I think we lost Joe there.
I say
yeah,
the same thing.
I thought he might have just clicked it off for a second, but I don't know.
Nah, he probably went to that.
I don't want to take over, but
I think we missed substrate. I think that was the topic that was supposed to be early on. I don't think we really touched it. I brought it up as moist hide substrate. Now I use moist hides. I don't know. Some people spray the tubs and stuff.
I
What's
use moist as well.
You do? What do you use?
I just pretty much use the Eco Earth, and I put a little bit of vermiculite in it just to kind of help hold that moisture. But I don't do a lot. I do just a little bit, and it works perfectly fine for us. So, and then every cleaning, so we go through twice a week, and we spot clean. And then if we really need to sanitize, we do our sanitize. Obviously, we're in the season right now, and same thing Joe touched on earlier. I don't want to wash away too much of their scent right now, so a little less with the whole sanitizing. But we go through and we spray. We stir it up, get it all nice and moist again if it needs to be, and it seems to work out well. So I don't have any
yeah,
issues. I don't have any problems with the humidity. It's always nice and good, and so I personally like it that way, and my geckos seem to like it. So
Am I back?
hey, he's back.
There you go. I can hear you guys the whole time.
I use moist hides as well, but I just use generic cocoa fiber. I do try to mix it up every now and again, but I really like the cocoa fiber. I just it's really quick and easy, and just absorb let it absorb that water and just put it in their hide, um, and it I mean it's pretty good for, I would say like maybe after a month or two I'll change it out, just because after that it just really gets, it doesn't really hold that moisture as good as it, when you first start it. I don't what I don't do is like for babies, for like maybe the first till they're about like maybe 35 grams, I usually just spray them down, just because they poop so much, and they how it is, poop gets everywhere. I mean, they poop in their dish, they poop everywhere. So I just don't like, I'm like super like cleanly at a certain point. Like I really don't like seeing poop like all over. So like I just hate seeing poops all over their hides, and having to scrub it down. And because for me, it's just me. I don't like seeing poop, so um so that's the way I worked around my, like, what I don't like as well. So yeah, like for babies, like from babies that are like from when they hatch to like maybe 35 grams, then I won't really introduce, because that's when they start slowing down on eating so much, and pooping all the time. So
we moisten paper towels for the babies.
yeah, pretty much.
We don't
I
use
use sphagnum green moss with all my sub-adult to adults, and it's mold resistant. I mean, every once in a while, if you like, I don't know, very rare have I ever done it and like moistened it, and then like a day later, like it'd be white fuzzy, and it doesn't happen very often. You just throw that out and restart. But once you get it moist and it sets in, it'll never just start growing fuzzy stuff all over it. It's supposed to be mold resistant, so I've never had an issue with a gecko eating it. I think I shared the supplier I get mine from with you, Joe, once on the bulk sphagnum green moss,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I've not had any mold issues. Have you, Junior? I mean,
Yeah,
I think
I've had not like I've just had some geckos of mine. They'll for some reason they'll like I have actually an eclipse girl that I have. She's mainly one that's been doing it recently. She likes to poop in her hide and then she buries it and then I don't really see it, so I'll spray it down and just over and over and next thing you know I have like mushrooms growing out. You know what I mean? But no, yeah, I'll get like mold coming out and I'm like, what is going on? And then I finally figured out that she was pooping and burying it. And that was the only issue that I have had so far with that. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have any mold issues.
I don't either. I do use a little bit of vermiculite with mine. It holds in moisture a little bit better. I also don't overwater it. And the other thing that I do is I let mine dry out. The geckos aren't going to die on you if you have dry substrate for a day or two. So I do remember, obviously, to re-wet it, but we use, I'm trying to think of what we use, because it's Repti soil. I use Repti soil, and I have a majority of that with some vermiculite in there. Never had a sick animal from it. Never had even an animal with a slight issue from it. And the vermiculite just helps. It helps in a garden. It helps in the soil, and in my opinion, it doesn't cause anything bad with the geckos. I've never had it do it to mine. So, if it ever does, I'll probably make a change or something. But for the most part, it holds that moisture in. It keeps it humid a little longer in that area.
that's what I
Um,
was telling the guys in the beginning before you came back, because I use the Eco Earth and a little bit of vermiculite. So,
yeah,
for the same reason.
I gotcha. And honestly, like it's really good for the eggs if the dirt's not dry. So for me, when eggs are dropping, which we have eggs dropping every day now, we're watching tubs and making sure we're keeping them moist and all. Oh, I hate that word. But yeah, we're doing it.
That's funny.
Yeah. So you guys have any substrate talk? Any I don't know, any recommendations? Anything that I ought to try? What were you, Derek? What was yours again? It was
Sphagnum green moss.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah, I
seen them.
sent you the link because you can order a whole bale from them, and then you
Yeah.
can repackage it in Ziploc bags. That's what I do, and put it in like big quart containers and just store it on top of my racks in there.
How long does it last?
It's supposed to be able to last several months, and part of that's on your choosing, because they'll get in there. It'll go from green to turning brown, which is all right, but it'll break up and it'll start getting dusty after a while. So then you can just change it every couple of months.
You ever wonder where they get like Repti soil? Like where do you go dig that up at? They just get dirt and trick us or what?
I did, yeah, I did. Oh, sorry. No, I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're
Go ahead.
fine, Junior. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I did try that. What Derek uses. But yeah, I had that same issue where it would just dust out, and then I didn't order it in bulk. Of course, I just ordered blocks and stuff, and um, yeah, I remember because when females would lay, a lot of people like to see white eggs, and they would ask me, how do your eggs come out so white? I'm like, well, it's the sphagnum moss that I'm using now, but um, definitely, yeah, if it'd be it definitely works good though. I mean, I've actually geckos actually really like it. That a lot of my geckos would actually bury themselves in there, and I think I still have a reel on my Instagram where I uh caught a male. He was just buried in there, and all he had his nose was just sticking out. And yeah, they enjoy it for sure. I'm pretty sure it's just they were enjoying that it was something different, something new. Um, but yeah, it works well. I mean, the way Derek does it sounds like it's more efficient the way he does it. If you order it in bulk and
Yeah.
switch it out to time for
Yeah,
sure.
it's
It
not
sounds like
cheap.
it lasts
It's not
longer
cheap
too,
when you just
right?
go to the
Like
store and get like a little bag. If you got a bunch of geckos, a little bag's not going to go very far. So
Now,
just
I'm
order a
not
bag.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the same consistency as what you use, Derek, but Home Depot, I think it's Home Depot. I bought a big container of the moss, but I got it for the bioactive tank. So I do a soil and a sand mix and the moss and then some Arctic bark and things like that. Because we have other animals that we have bioactive tanks for that are not, we don't breed. So that I think was like $16. And I mean, it's a big old brick that I've only used a quarter of it. So I wonder if that would work for the hives.
I used to get those bricks, and after a
Well,
while, I started getting them and putting them outside. I would, put the water in them and then set them outside for a couple days in the sun. And it worried me a little bit to do that because I thought, what can get in it? But it was more of when they would come out, I would always have like gnats hatch out of it and stuff like that. So I thought, well, what's in this?
yeah,
So
it's
for
not.
me, that's probably what turned me off to it a little bit. But I'm not saying it's the wrong to use it. I started sticking it outside and letting the gnats all come out of it that way. And I thought, well, why does it have that in there? And then
Moss or like what was it you were wetting and putting outside?
it was bricks of that moss stuff. Yeah. So
Oh
it was
no,
like
see
an
these
eco earth moss or something like that.
yeah, no,
No,
this
no,
is
this is different.
sphagnous moss or whatever it
Different.
is that you can buy at Home Depot. You find it obviously in the garden center, but it's just like one big
Yeah.
container. It's not small bricks of
Yeah.
it.
It breaks out and it's like it's kind of stringy. You know, when it breaks
Yeah.
out, it's
Yeah.
like stringy
Yeah.
and
So not what I was just talking about, basically, is
yeah.
what you're saying.
I think we were a little confused, but it's all
I
good.
think what it sounds like you're talking about is what a lot of ball python breeders use.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about.
That's what my buddy uses, and he has to bake it in his oven sometimes, and all kinds of other stuff just to try to get the
Put my,
excess moisture out of it.
just put my foot in my mouth. It reminds me of that one time when I started the introduction and my mic was off. That was
That one
always
time
fun.
recently.
Yeah, it's funny too is I was watching you guys as I was talking down below, and I see Jen run over and start doing this, and I was like, she's texting me, and I was like, oh, my mic's off, super. And I turned it on before the text even came through. Like I
Because
just
I
had
couldn't
it
hear
going.
you.
That was so funny.
Well, I had to be a good friend. I didn't want you sticking your foot in your
Sitting here talking to myself, and then you guys are
yeah,
just letting me.
yeah.
So
So,
that's awesome. Well, all right, guys. That was a lot in one roundtable. I don't know about you guys, but I had a really good time on here today with you. Being able to go over some stuff with some fellow breeders, hang out, talk geckos. Something that Junior said to me when we were hanging out for a little bit last weekend, was that other people just don't get it, and so that's kind of stuck with me. And he's right. It made me want to be able to get on here a little more often than I have been, because the last one was 3 weeks, a month ago, something like that. So, um, I wanted to thank you guys for coming on, and thank you for saying that to me, Junior. It was really, just kind of eye opening. You're right. Other people don't get it, and if it's going to be something you're passionate about, you got to talk about it with like-minded individuals.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you all offering to jump on here, Derek. It's always great to talk with you, man. Jen, we talk all the time, and then Junior, we were starting to. So I really appreciate you guys. Um, yeah. Other than that, if you guys have anything you want to talk about real quick, this is that moment where I'm just going to kind of whatever, and you can talk about what you got going on, or if you're good, just say goodbye.
actually, Junior, if you could just share, maybe send me the links to what you guys use for the bee pollen and green goods. I'd like to take a look at those and check them out.
Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely share some links to you. I usually get a lot of my stuff from Amazon anyway, so
So do I. They're here
yeah,
almost daily.
yeah. So I even have subscription set up for just I just get a whole load of
Got it.
buying it or whatever that comes in. So yeah,
Nice.
I'll definitely show you or send you those links for sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, no worries. I just wanted to ask. I mean, how's season going for everybody? I mean, I know we're all starting up again and getting our projects off the ground again, and want to know what you guys are excited about this year.
Mm.
I've got 15 or 16 paired myself, so it's going to be big. But one's laid all infertles, and that's one me and Joe were both hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always next year maybe to try. So I don't know. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
not her year.
You talking about Echo?
Yeah, I'm talking about Echo.
I thought she was a he, and
No, she's a she.
she's a she.
She's a friendly she. She's a good girl.
Well, sometimes, Joe, just by chance,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know, attempt sex to me.
Tell God your plans.
I
Tell
had one.
God your plans. Tell the incubator your plans. And then they're gonna laugh.
I had one I was really looking forward to. It was female. It just by chance ended up becoming Chance. That's his name.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing how many times that happens. I remember wanting a male Tango Crush tangerine, and I literally wouldn't buy it until I got on the phone with dude, and so we finally started texting back and forth, and hand selected the male for me. Turned out to be female, but it happens, Like it's you. I
Yeah, it's
think
all good. I
it's
still
still
like
a
him.
wonderful animal, but
He's
it's
still,
just
yeah, he's still gorgeous. I'm excited personally that speaking of temp sex, I'm actually doing some males this year. So last year being, my trial run year, I did all females, and so far we're doing good. Running the 2 incubators, keeping them at our temperatures. So fingers crossed, we get males. They're supposed to
yeah.
be males, and females that are supposed to be female.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think I was talking to Joe too. I mean, this year doing all females, just because the project that I'm looking forward to working on, which I talked to Joe a little bit about. I'm really trying to venture into the cipher stuff a little bit more.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you guys know, but I'm pretty much like a huge fan of the Purple Head stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had my ups and downs with them. I've had, you like every project that you really enjoy, you have your ups and downs and your headaches and those nights where you just want to cuss something out and you're in the gecko room just cussing out and but yeah, I definitely like I was explaining to Joe, I pretty much I'm on. I don't think I'll ever stop producing those, but definitely I'm at the end of it where now I kind of just want to start plugging them into other stuff. So this year is probably going to be the last year that I really do a big group of them and just kind of hold back everything and for the future. So I'm pretty much just doing all females this year, and prepares for the cipher stuff. Just hoping. I actually hatched a really nice male, cipher male, last year. That is also a purple head cross, and he's actually over at Joe right now. And just seeing him again, he's just just the potential that it has. So I'm really excited moving forward with that project. But yeah, it's going to be a good year either way. I mean, we got some really good groups this year, and yeah, I'm really excited. I'm already having headaches. I mean, I've already lost about 3 eggs, so but I
Uh,
have a couple eggs incubating right now. So
yeah.
I'm right behind you. Those two, I pretty much knew they were infertile, but I still threw them in the incubators and they molded. So
yeah, I know. I love how we do that. I knew right off the bat. I mean, there were squishy eggs. I'm like, they'll make
yeah,
it. And then,
I
so
even said to Joe, "Should I even throw these in?" 'Cause, like literally,
Every egg gets incubated just in case. Yeah, that's what
but
I
I
do.
canceled them. I saw nothing. They were squishy. I'm like, well, okay. 3 days later, they were molded. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've already had my heartbreak already this year. I mean, I think one of my best females that I've ever really enjoyed. Like Derek was saying, just she's actually breeding on her second season with me now, and she produced some really good stuff last year, and um, I'm, I'm hoping for the best this year. I mean, but she's already kicking in. She's probably one of the best females too. She lays on time and she drops those eggs, and they're hardly ever infertile, but yeah, this year she already gave me a heartbreak where she gave me some infertile, so I was like, man, but
I'm
Yeah.
so
gonna try to repair this one again, and fingers crossed. So
Um, MS Farms, Micah's saying she does not incubate squishy eggs.
yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Probably shouldn't, but I did anyways.
Yeah.
I usually do because I have still have this female. She's actually going to be retired this year. She bred for me for like 3 years straight, but she was just one of my first ever purple head that I ever got. So I was just kind of trying to use her as getting as much genetics from her as I could. But she would never. I mean, with every male that I paired her to, she would always lay squishy eggs, and I would get them to hatch. I mean, so that's the only reason why I do incubate
Well,
squishy eggs. But it was just mainly her. She wouldn't lay hard. They would never calcify.
Yeah,
For
she
some
has a good
reason.
point here. She says those are my. Oh, good. Maybe I won't run out of space eggs. So,
Yeah.
that's a good point. My
yeah.
husband's already dreading the fact that he's got to build at least 2 more racks for me. So
Oh, Dan's the man. He'll get it done.
yeah, he'll get it done. He's good. He's a good sport. He don't understand it. He's not into it like I am, but he supports me, so there's that.
That's what all this right here is for. I'm probably on pairing. I'm on pairing 18. They're not all mine. Obviously, I share a facility with my children, and I call them children, but they're both adults. So yeah, they have their projects. I have mine. We kind of
So how many are
monitor.
really yours, Joe? How many are
Well, I've
really?
helped with all of them, and they've helped with mine. So in our
No, no,
facility, there are
no.
18.
Okay, because you text me 18. So how
Yeah,
many of those
that's
18
how
are really
many.
yours?
That's how many are going on in our building. In
I
our
have
shared
13.
facility. But my last two
They're all
pairings were,
Joe's.
yeah, my last two pairings were the first two I wanted, and I didn't get them first, but I just finally got them, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. So that's how season's going for me. I'm excited about all my pairings, but they're more meticulously thought out this time, and I think I'm pretty much done for myself. I know Samantha might have like another one to go, maybe two. 18, Micah, total in our facility. Not all of them are mine. Some are Samantha's, some go to Alec. Um, but
Here's this girl
hey,
for you. She's growing.
yeah, Heidi stopped by to say hey right at the end.
Well, now I can't see her again.
I know she disappeared. This is
Yeah.
actually a gecko from Joe. It's a Tremper Cipher. She's really pretty, gorgeous
Oh, is
girl.
it the green screen blocking it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think so.
so.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
really nice though.
Invisible
She's
gecko.
It's a
Where did
new
you
one.
get that invisible morph, man?
Yeah,
It's rare. It's a rare invisible morph.
it's called the predator.
Yeah.
I have to go into it.
Yep. Well, guys, we're going on 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and end things here. Thank you so much again for coming on. Everybody look out for a couple of more that are coming on soon. I know, I don't know if you guys know Thomas out in Tucson, but he's going to be coming on with me sometime soon. And I just met and had a little brief conversation with Liz over at Lizzie's Leos. I might have her on with Thomas when we go. So that'd be kind of cool. We're thinking early March for that one. And then obviously every single one of you I hope to have on again soon. And some of the people in the comments, if I can be convincing enough. I don't know. I'll do my best. So thank you everybody who showed up to watch the show and who commented and gave some support. I really appreciate you guys. Clint, Micah. I wish I knew who Apple was. He commented quite a bit. Gage Boy. I don't know who Sweetism 1999 is, but thank you. I just want to kind of call out some people just to make sure we got SC Reptiles. Who's this Geckoverse guy? Oh, that's me. Exotic World of Geckos is on. Bobby Nelson. What is the easiest to raise live food for geckos? I missed your question, Bobby, but if you come on again, I'll get it next time. And then you have Lucid Arboreals, who spent quite a bit of time in the comments. So I appreciate you guys. Vinny, you're here in Arizona. It's good to see you, man. And just kind of combing through as quickly as I can. I think I got everybody. So MPA, we got Michael. Sorry, I missed you, man. I didn't miss you in the end though. Thank you for coming on here and for commenting. If you guys want to follow Jen, if you guys want to follow Derek or Junior, their stuff is in the descriptions down below. Really good people. I vouch for every one of them as being good humans. And if you want to follow me, I'm also in the stuff down below for Instagram. But yeah, I don't know if you guys are aware too, but I'm going to be a little bit more active on Discord. It's something I put together, and then work kind of took me away from it. I just wanted to touch on it for a second. Discord is a chat server. It's a place where you can go and talk to multiple people at once. There was a little bit of controversy behind certain people being in the chat. I can tell you that certain people have basically gotten themselves booted out of the chat by a moderator twice now. And it's funny because it's my chat, but it had nothing to do with me. I didn't even know it happened until I got a complaint. But I don't care either way. But yeah, the Discord is something that I put together for everybody to chat. One of the first reasons that I did do the Discord, just so you kind of know my motive, I was talking to a friend in California. Her name is Leah, and I know her a little bit, and she's always really nice to me. And she lost a really kicking Instagram. Hers was badass, and then it was just gone one day. She couldn't get it back, and so I was like, man, what if that happens to me? So if you guys ever do, want, I would invite some people. There's a link always in my link tree on Instagram that leads to the Discord, and I just thought it would be really cool to be able to go on there and say, hey guys, lost my Facebook, Instagram, lost this, whatever. I got booted for that reason. Thank you for saying that, Noah. I appreciate the compliment. But yeah, it would be cool to say, hey, I created a new one. Here's the profile. I lost all my other stuff. Come follow me over there. Because we all, it's an interesting community. It's an interesting hobby. There's so many really cool people, and I would hate to lose any of them if I needed information or help. And like Junior said last weekend, man, some people just don't get it. You guys all do. So the Discord chat's not going anywhere. It'll be there for for people if they need, to remind others, hey, I lost this, or I'm not here anymore, whatever. You can always go there and chat. And also, there are different chat rooms. I do try to pay attention to what works and what doesn't work. Go to the one that suits you best. There's an option at the top, and you can it goes browse channels, I believe, and you just turn off what you don't want to see, which is kind of nice. So you can see only what you want to see and talk there. Chat with people that you want to chat with only, and it's a really neat thing. All chat is where everybody's at, but that's not the only thing available there. And so I'll probably be doing a little bit more focus on it to try to grow it, and then focused on you guys. Again, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It was fun.
Sorry, a little delayed there. Junior sent me a link, so.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Cool.
I might send y'all something after a while, but I got to work after a while too, so I'm gonna be up all night.
I know. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Alrighty, thank you. We'll catch you on the other side.
All right, bye, guys.
Later.